Hello, and welcome to another episode of Disrupt Your Now, the show for entrepreneurs who are sick and tired of checking off the boxes. And if you haven't gotten my book, you need to get it because this man, Daryl Hatton, our guest tonight, is also in the book. And Daryl is one of these people who has spent decades not checking off other people's boxes. Hey, Daryl, and welcome to the show.
That is such a nice way to say I'm old. I appreciate that.
Well, hello, I'm older than you, so we both have spent decades being unmanageable. That's what we work
Unmanageable,
ourselves.
unemployable. Yeah, had to be an entrepreneur because I needed a job, and so the job of entrepreneur was better than some of the options.
Yeah, really. Well, it's so good to see you. And I want to tell the audience really quickly, Daryl and I met right before COVID hit
Mm.
back in 2020, and we were kicking off a crowdfunder for the racing team that I work with. And Daryl was kind enough to talk with me personally, and then COVID hit. So we had to put a pause on that crowdfunder, but we are doing a crowdfunder now on Daryl's platform, crowdfunder.com, DR, not DER.com. And you can go to 1111 Veteran Project if you want to see a link to it. I think I have a link there. I got to check. Anyway, Daryl, welcome to the show, and I want you to tell the audience a bit about your background, how you got to where you are today.
Well, we already covered the kind of unemployable version, like
Yeah.
college dropout, typical of an entrepreneur, right? Um, the structure of school wasn't going to work for me. And so I got into industry for a while, and I ended up teaching myself how to program when I was in high school and turned that into some technical skills that I ended up starting some software companies to do software development for things like our oil and gas utility up here. So they needed a system, and we built that for them. But if you fast forward a bunch of years, I got tired of the consulting game and said, I need to build a product that somebody else can sell, because this boom bust cycle of consulting was
Yes.
just really hard. I'm great at wanting to keep customers happy
Mhm.
and give them the best possible software. I was really lousy at trying to go find a new one.
Yeah.
So I'd hold on to the old ones, trying to do more work for them or better job for them. And I was going broke slowly, or actually fairly quickly.
That's a
So
common, as you know, that's a very common thing in the world
and
of
that's why I wanted to
entrepreneurs.
bring it up, is that this is the kind of thing that this is how I adapted to it. As we said, we
Okay.
need to find a product.
Hmm.
So I went to a trade show in Las Vegas that was called Comdex. It was a computer dealer's exposition. And I overheard a conversation at a table in the bar. And the guy was going, I really need somebody to build one of these things for me, some software. And so we left the bar with a handshake deal that we would build it. My business partner and I would build it, and he'd sell it. Turned out he bought one copy or sold one copy. But the idea was so good, we got funding from friends and family, and we built out a company to do it. And the company was called Pacific Genesis, but the product was called Reform. And it
Hmm.
took laser printers, which were this newfangled device at that time, and produced business documents on it, invoices and purchase orders and checks and things like that. And we kind of struggled to get it going as a software business, but finally got a few sales in, got enough money in to start doing some advertising. So we put a business card size ad in a computer publication, which was the wrong target audience, but it worked. And we didn't sell any software from that, but we sold the whole company.
Oh,
We
wow.
sold it, we sold it into a company out of Atlanta, Georgia. Now I'm in Vancouver, Canada, so everybody can get an idea of the distance involved. And we sold it into the company, and I say sell it into because we stayed with there. Both my business partner and I stayed. I ended up being senior VP of development and chief technology officer. When we started, it was 30 people in the company when we joined. And by the time we were done, we had over 350, and we had a NASDAQ IPO where that little idea overheard in the bar in Las Vegas was worth about $1 billion Canadian. So it was like a crazy path to for a guy who's unemployable.
Yeah, I remembered part of that story, but I forgot part of it too. So I'm so glad that you brought it up. That's amazing. But look, people in the audience, that is a great example of you just have to have your eyes and ears open because you never know what situation you're going to find yourself in, and you have to be ready to pounce, right?
And you have to figure out how you're going to add value to what somebody's doing.
Uh-huh.
Even if I wasn't, it was hard to be an employee. The value you could add was some of the creativity that comes with being an entrepreneur. The idea that you're going to take different risks than other people would take in order to figure out and solve a problem. And in doing that, we can do stuff that other people can't do, who are more employable, just because it's a creativity thing.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward a bit, that was around Y2K. And I ended up being part of our mergers and acquisitions team at the public company. And we bought a couple of companies and sold one. So that was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2008, we decided to take our company private again, and we sold it to our largest competitor. So we took it off the markets and we sold it to our largest competitor. And they were based in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And I was commuting from Vancouver to Atlanta for work. So people in Georgia say Georgia 400 is a lot of traffic. Yeah, but just add in an entire continent across the road and get into Georgia traffic. And they said, well, look, you could just do a triangle and go up to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and then on your way home. And my body just rebelled and said, no way, I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. It's, oh yeah, you can just do that, Daryl.
It was already 120,000 air miles a year. Why would I want to do that? And so 6 months and a day later, I started ConnectionPoint. And ConnectionPoint is our collaborative commerce company. It's the platform we use to help people raise money for almost any kind of cause. And they can be charitable causes, like personal and professional charity, like GoFundMe. We have a brand that does that. It's called FundRazr, FundRazr, or ZR if you're in my neighborhood. And you're going to find out very quickly that I don't have an E on my keyboard because all my brand names are messed up that way. And then we have Crowdfundr, FUNDR, drop the E again, .com. And that's for the creator economy. So people who are doing movies or comic books or regular novels or graphic novels or songs or anything like that. It's for the creator economy.
Yeah.
And then we have one called CoCoPay, which is about people paying for personal health care. If you need a big category on FundRazr and on GoFundMe is people who are helping raise money for their personal health care. And there's some problems with that. We can talk about more about it later. And then we have Petfundr, which is another big category that was on FundRazr. People like to raise money for their pets when they get into trouble and they need to go to the vet. And they can need help paying for the bill. And that one's a particularly important one because veterinarians are really struggling. They are one of the highest levels of depression and suicide in, right behind first responders. And
wow.
Because they went into veterinary medicine to save animals. And their job is a professional executioner most of the time. And that's tearing them apart.
That's awful.
So Petfundr, we're hoping, is going to help reduce some of the financial pressure on people who can help their pet get healthy as opposed to having to put it down.
Yeah. I love that. And and the thing is, like, if somebody gets help with their pet, they can turn around and pay it forward, helping other people.
Right.
And
explain to the community. We're designed to take care of each other. We've just forgotten how to do that.
Yeah. And if you're kind enough and open enough to do that, don't be counting like who's going to give back to me. Just be thinking about how you're going to help, and everything in the long run works out. And Sponsifi. Have you talked about Sponsifi?
And Sponsifi we're not focused on it as much as we were. We will come back to it. It's just we're a very small company. We're like under 20 people. And to have all these different brands is a huge workload to carry. So advice to some entrepreneurs, it's all fun to start up another business unit, but be ready to do the work that's
the yucky part, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all fun and games until the work actually happens. And then you're going, wait, why did we do that again? So we put Sponsifi on a bit of pause, but Sponsifi is about one of our goals in trying to help raise money for any kind of cause is that we believe that we need to get causes, corporations, and consumers to work together to solve funding problems. This isn't about just straight philanthropy. Sometimes there's a business part involved. And that's why we call it a collaborative commerce platform, is that with crowdfunding, you're actually working with your customers to help fund the production of your product or service, whatever that is. That's collaborative commerce.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You coined it, right?
Yeah. And, so like examples of other collaborative commerce platforms are things like Kickstarter or Indiegogo or Etsy or Patreon. Patreon helping creators do their artwork and stuff like that. There's all sorts of different examples. But, when we take this collaboration approach, it changes the way it works. And we think it's a model for business going forward, is that we can't keep dumping stuff on our customers. We've got to figure out how to work with them to figure out what they want. And by getting them to pay for it, we're very well motivated to deliver exactly what they want ahead of time. So there's some cool stuff with that.
For sure. And I want you to explain really quickly how CoCoPay works too, because I think that is so cool. I don't know if there's any other company that does that.
There's only been a couple of charities that have tried parts of this.
Okay.
One of the big challenges with if you're running a personal healthcare campaign to pay for the copay on your insurance, on your cancer treatment, or to pay for your medical device that you need, like you've got a child with cerebral palsy and they need one of the robotic walker trainers that help teach them how to walk properly. If you're doing some of that, when you run it on GoFundMe or on our FundRazr platform, there's no accountability for how that money will be used because it goes into the pocket of the patient. Now, sometimes the patients are well-meaning, but they've got financial pressures on them, like they may have a gambling habit, or they may have an alcohol, drug abuse habit, or they may have a really, really awful in-law. I mean, there's a whole series of things that might divert money away from delivering the actual result that the donor intended when they gave the money. So what we did with CoCoPay is we took the crowdfunding model and made it so that it could operate under the branding of a medical device provider or a medical services provider. So you imagine you go into a cancer clinic and you need to pay for your copay. You can run a campaign that is branded by that clinic, and the payments go directly into the clinic in an all or nothing funding model, similar to what you'd have with Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So if you need $10,000 for your copay on your insurance, the budget for your campaign can be set to 10. We take pledges up to the point where you kind of exceed the $10,000. And then at that point, we said, do you want the revenue? And the clinic says yes. And then all those pledges are converted into payments, and they go exactly to hit 10,000 on the button.
Okay.
So that the clinic doesn't have to worry about having extra money or not enough money. Like if it doesn't hit, nobody's charged anything. So there's no risk in trying to crowdfund for this. And
that's such a, sorry. No, you finish what you were saying.
We hope to really take a significant risk out of it so that donors can trust that if I give you $500 for your cancer treatment, you either get your cancer treatment or I don't spend the money. Because I want the result of I want you alive. I want you healthy. And if we only got you part way to the bill, say we only got half of the money, what happens now? We're lost. Like it's a limbo. We don't have enough to go forward. But if the clinic gives all the money back, they have to leave the fees with the payment processing company. And so there's a loss. It's actually negative. You're worse off than when you started.
Well, I was going to say, I love that idea because we've all seen so many horrible stories. Well, and good meaning people can end up diverting the funds, but we've also seen so many horrible stories of people pretending like they have certain diseases and stuff. And it makes people jaded. It makes them not want to help somebody unless they really know them personally. And this takes away all of that risk and allows people to open up their hearts and their pocketbooks without worrying about being used.
And trusting it a little more. Again, because in the beginning, it was easy to trust. But then the scammers went, wow, this is a great way to make money. And they started to game the system. And one of the things for everyone to know is the more media coverage a campaign has, the more likely it is fraudulent. And everybody's like, what? But if it didn't start with a group, like most crowdfunding is done with the first and second degree network connections. So your friends and the friends of your friends will fund your project on the healthcare kind of thing. If you end up getting somebody who gets radio coverage or television coverage because their story is compelling enough for media, all of a sudden it gets out of control. because there's no connection to the person that really needed the money. And these, there's an accident happens on the freeway and 5 campaigns start up right away. We're going to help the family. None of those people might actually know the person involved.
Yeah.
The media gets onto it and goes, okay, the GoFundMe for so-and-so is running on blah, blah, blah. And they get a lot of money and then go ahead and see what happens next.
And figure out the creative way to solve it. All right, so let's get to, since you are the master of crowdfunding, you've been doing this how many years?
Well, we started in 2009. So same time as GoFundMe started, same time as Indiegogo. Indiegogo was a year earlier, and Kickstarter was around the same time. We were all around the same time.
Yeah.
And we weren't all the pioneers, like we weren't the real pioneers. There was a few groups that had tried this a little bit earlier. So, we can claim all the accolades we want, but really we were learning from the market. And that's a really important lesson for the entrepreneurs here, is that if you don't have to be first, what you have to be is good at it. And going in good at it, figuring out the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
And do that well, because the early adopters are literally feeling their way in the dark. They don't know how to solve the problem. And so when they start to get some success at it, frequently they've got baggage that goes with that. They've got a platform that they've already built that's kind of right, but it's not really right. A fast following entrepreneur, and I hate saying this, but a fast following entrepreneur in early stage markets can actually overtake the initial people if they figure out the problems that they were having and solve those quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not having to carry around the baggage of the initial investors and the initial group of customers. Customers are great, except that they can drag you in the wrong direction.
Yeah. When you and I have both seen that, since we're both in technology and have been for decades, we've both seen that. That's one of the big things. People don't realize how much work goes into the beginning, but that once somebody sees it, it's fair game for anybody to learn from you and do better. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Okay, let's get into, I want to talk about some of the best tips for people who want to crowdfund. And then after that, I want you to talk about a few, like the biggest mistakes. But let's talk about the good tips first, the things that are the most important.
So crowdfunding, there's 2 kinds of things to talk about in crowdfunding, in very, very broad categorization right now. One of them is that emotional-based campaigns. So a healthcare campaign or a charitable campaign is frequently a very emotional topic that's going on. And that the way you tell that story is a little different than the way you tell an entrepreneurial story. But they actually share more than you might think. They're more in common, because crowdfunding is about helping you fund for something that is not yet fully formed. If it was fully formed, if the product was all ready to go, you're going to put it on Shopify, or you're going to put it somewhere else. You're going to just sell it. It's not the same kind of thing. With crowdfunding, you're getting early money in from your crowd to support you in getting to the point where you can get the product or service launched or out to people. That's the most typical kind of thing. So when people are doing their crowdfunding campaign for a small product, or like you're an author, if you're doing it for a book, let's talk about books from the point of view. You're not telling the features of your book all the time. You're going to tell the story about why this is important, what's in the book that really matters. It may not even be exactly what you said is in the book that matters. It's the fact that it pulls it all together and gives a discussion point for people who are talking about this issue. You're not telling them how to solve the problem. You're giving them talking points so they can help figure out their own solution. That's a hard thing to sell.
Yeah.
But the emotional component of that can really work for a crowdfunding campaign is that relationship entrepreneur to entrepreneur or customer who wants to help you. They want to get behind the idea of, let's help her publish her book.
Yeah.
Because I would like to read the book and I'd like to see her more successful. And that initial crowd of people that'll support you are the friends and families and others in the first and second levels of your network. Those are the people that'll give you the social proof that your book or project is important.
Mm-hmm.
And then other people go, okay, that's cool. I'll try that too. But if you don't have that social proof, then your campaign frequently fall flat. So the biggest kind of pitfall that I see people having when they come in is that they believe that the internet out there will buy their stuff.
Right.
As opposed to putting faces and names to it on people
Mm-hmm.
who will buy your initial stuff. So the campaigns that work best are the ones that get behind that idea and really market themselves to the friends and family network to get those early adopter supporters that'll help say, hey, my friend so-and-so is writing a book. I think you'd be interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that word of mouth referral or that social media referral is where you're going to end up getting your growth from. But so, kind of summarize that as a bullet point. An effective campaign takes advantage of, and not leverages,
Mm-hmm.
the friends and family connections you have to get initial visibility into a much broader audience.
Yeah. And, people out there, put yourself in the position of somebody who's going to fund something. If you go and there's no money in it, then you feel like, oh, maybe it's no good, or you feel like whatever I give isn't going to make a difference, but when you see the money starting to add up, there are all kinds of different things that get involved, but the mental thing of not wanting to miss out on it, everybody wants to be part of something that's good, that's happening, but also you feel like the money that you're putting in is actually making a difference to help the person reach their goal, which leads to, and this may not have been the order you were going to talk about, but I'm going to say leads to setting your goal, your initial goal, because and I've seen this myself, people are like, but we need this huge amount. And you're like, yeah, but start smaller because it's harder.
The bigger the amount, the less likely you are to win.
Yeah.
Now, and what we have to get, it's a really, I'm going to key on a word you said. How much do we need?
Mm-hmm.
Most people only need a small meal a day and a roof over their head and a little bit of water, and they're fine. That's what they need. What they want is a big screen TV and a much bigger meal, and I want a McMansion, and I want to have a whole lot more stuff.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I want that. And it's really important to separate the difference. Minimum viable product or minimum viable goal. What is the minimum amount of money you can get by with to get your product launched or to get the first run? That's the goal you should set. Because now you can have a stretch goal. And so don't give up on the idea that I need $1 million.
Right. Yeah.
But go in it with the idea that with 15K, I can really make a killing here to get this thing out and into the marketplace, or 5K or 2K. It can be really small. The point is to get people to bet on you, to believe in you, because that's social proof. That community you start with, you grow and you nurture that small community, and you feed and water it, you give it information, you talk about the impact and how much they're helping, and they're going, great, I'm a good person, I'll do some more of that. And then it grows.
But, and when you're working with your inner circle and you've let them know ahead of time and everything, and then when you launch, you've got people who are already excited about what you're doing or just want to support you. If you have a small goal, like let's say $5,000, $1,000 is 20%. People are like, yes, but if you got 100,000, $1,000 is 1%, and people are like, my $10 isn't going to matter.
It doesn't feel like it's going to move the needle.
Yeah, exactly. They feel like if they can't give hundreds of dollars at a bare minimum, it won't help.
Right.
So,
yeah, no, you're right on with that. And you mentioned a key part about that is that when you launch your campaign, it's really important to have some people lined up who are willing to put the money down right away. No questions asked. Because you've got getting off of zero, that big zero in your campaign is the hardest thing. It's like it's got special magnetism that holds you there. And if you don't get that momentum to get off of it, your campaign will die really quickly. And it's all because you didn't do the work to get the first people to give to you. Because once they give to you, somebody else goes, oh, that must be kind of okay. I'll do that too.
Yeah.
But don't answer that question. You go into an empty restaurant, And a lot of times people will leave because they're going, the food here must not be very good.
Exactly. And if you go, especially if you go onto a campaign and there's the big fat zero there and it's been up for a week or two, then people really will be like, well, shoot, their mama won't even give.
Right.
You know?
And you think that like their friends won't give to them? Like
Yeah.
that's not good. That's not a
Yeah.
good indicator for you as a human. It's not a good indicator for you as a business person.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the people don't have a good idea or anything, but they didn't do the preparation that they needed to do in order to get the word out to so that it could get some juice in it and get going.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
I think people, whether it's a product on an e-commerce site, your own site or Amazon, or whether it's a crowdfunder, people just think, oh, if I put it up, they will come. They think the internet is magic and that everybody is just going to come running and throw their money at them.
yeah, there'll be ghosts if they come out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But and that is probably one of the biggest myths of it. And some people will go, well, gee, that sounds like a lot of work. And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
You're creating money out of thin air for
Mhm.
stuff that doesn't exist yet. That's got to be actually a little like if it was easy, everybody could do it. And then you'd be
Exactly.
in a battle because inflation would be running rampant and you couldn't afford to buy anything because the better people at doing that are going to make so much more money and you're going to have a hard time keeping up. Like it is work, but it's manageable. It's the
Yeah.
kind of work that you can, well, first off, it's really important training for you as an entrepreneur because your marketing work never goes away. Your
Yeah.
product rarely becomes flying off the shelves and you don't have to do any marketing work. Those days are not that common anymore. So you have to learn these skills, and crowdfunding is one of the best ways to teach you all the different things that you have to do with your product. You have to know that it matches the needs of your customers. You have to be able to get a testimonial to that before you get started.
Mhm.
You need to get the costs of your product all worked out, including the cost of shipping and the cost of taxes. Oh, those things. Oh, because crowdfunding isn't this mystery bubble that's not subject to the laws of the world. It's
Right.
totally subject to the laws of the world. And so, and then you have to learn how to market it. You have to convert,
Mhm.
customers into, or like prospects into customers. And
Yeah.
part of that is effective storytelling. And the storytelling is different than what you might normally think of. So way back to the stuff when we talked in the beginning, the story that you tell for an emotional campaign is different from the one that you tell for a product campaign.
Mhm.
But they share part of the same characteristic is that unless the backers are willing to support you as a company and an entrepreneur, that's the emotional component to them. The
Yeah.
product may be fine, but they're paying a premium and they're paying for it before the product is available. That's
Mhm.
a risk premium that they have to do. And in order to do that, they have to believe in you and they have to want you to win.
Yeah. Great points. And they have to believe in you, and everybody wants to feel good. So the better they can feel about helping you, whether it's your story or the cause or whatever. So that leads me to like the title and the introduction, like
Mhm.
how important a video is and and the structuring a title to get found by the people who don't know you.
Well, so first off, I mean, a lot of crowdfunding campaigns, you got to remember that the way people discover them is through social sharing. So
Mhm.
your friends will either use public or private social media to share them. They'll post it on Facebook, they'll post it on Twitter, they'll post it on Threads, they'll post it on Insta, wherever.
Mhm.
Or they'll send it by Facebook Messenger, by WhatsApp, by email, by text. A good platform will give you the ability to communicate however those people want to communicate. It's not
Mhm.
about telling you to use Twitter. It's about telling you to use the thing that you use to talk to the members of your community.
Mhm.
Their community may be different from yours. We get people all the time who'll get in and they're all onto Instagram and stuff like that. And they're going like, I don't share it with Facebook. I only share it with Insta. They're the same company, right? But anyway, and then you get into some people say, I'll never use Twitter. That's fine.
Mhm.
Don't. We're not telling you to use Twitter. We're saying, what do you use? Use that
Right.
because that's where your crowd lives.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that we should probably talk about at one point. Is like telling the storytelling stuff. And we should talk about building, buying, and borrowing a crowd.
Mm.
And we can talk about the idea of video in that. So why don't we? I wonder, does anybody have any idea of what the differences in campaigns can look like these days? Maybe I share a couple of things and show you some motivational stories for people.
Yeah, that would be great.
Now let's see if I can do that on this new interface. How do I share?
Oh,
Silly
let me
question.
see.
Sorry.
Do you see at the bottom a present thing in the little toolbar at the bottom?
There it is.
Yeah. And then share screen.
Okay, share screen, easiest 2 monitors. Yeah, don't show these tips again. Okay, which screen are you gonna let me share? All right. I hope that's what that, come on, I want to share screen too. Well, we'll soon see if this turns us into the infinite scroll here.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay, I need to add it to stage. There we go.
Okay. So one of the things I thought I'd show you is just so that we can put the spelling out for everybody. Crowdfundr is here. And this is our website for the creative industry. So creators and indie businesses and fans and things like that. All of our platforms are all based on the same underlying core technology, the ConnectionPoint collaborative commerce platform. But we tailor it to each of the individual markets to make it easier for people to understand.
Yeah.
People used to go to our FundRazr platform and go, we've heard you're really good at competing with Kickstarter, but all I see are these charitable projects. How do you do my entrepreneurial project? So we built a brand that's more towards that. And so one of the key things is, if you ever go here, you want to see what's currently working in the industry. We have our staff picks and we have
look, I see our campaign.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, Regicide. So
awesome.
It's great graphics. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And so the website's here. But one of the things I wanted to show everyone is a resource that's available to you if you're wanting to learn how to crowdfund. And that is from the crowdfunding site. Yeah, I should show you that. Under resources, you can go to this thing called the Creator Hub. And the Creator Hub is a community of people that do crowdfunding that can talk on our Discord channel, and you can share and ask questions and introduce yourself and learn the techniques. And then we have a whole bunch of resources on here about how to do crowdfunding. So where to start, looking for, we give you a ton of information in here on all sorts of ways to do it, including toolkits for, you're switching to crowdfunding from Indiegogo or things like that. There's lots of information in here. We do webinars and recorded sessions on that. So if somebody's looking for information, they should first come to you, and then they should come here.
Yeah, I actually used a lot of those resources in helping set up this book one, because I hadn't done one for a book before, and I had used FundRazr but not Crowdfundr, and so getting used to that. And the guy that we're doing it with was coming over after using Kickstarter, so for all those reasons, I used a lot of the resources, and they're great.
Yeah. And you mentioned FundRazr here. So this is our platform for raising money for charitable project, personal, professional charity, like GoFundMe or the professional version of GoFundMe, other platforms like that. And same kind of idea. There's a lot of information here on all the feature set that you have with our platform, which is extensive. Like it's not even, we can talk for literally a couple of hours about all the things that are in the platform, as you've seen, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different capabilities in there. But to make the charitable side easier, we also have a FundRazr hub. And the FundRazr hub is for our charitable platforms, FundRazr, Petfundr, CoCoPay. Same kind of stuff. There's content in here specific to running these kinds of campaigns. So if somebody's looking for this, these are just two really, really good ways to get to it. And you can get to these properties from any of our brands. Like there's on the Crowdfundr site, there's the link to the hubs. On the FundRazr site, Petfundr site, there's the link to the hub. So just encourage everyone, I encourage everybody to check out this content. We have gone overboard on giving you the best tools we can find to teach you how to do this. And the toolkits and things like this, we've invested a ton of time and effort because we want you to be successful. We're not successful by selling you something. We're successful when we help you run your campaign.
Right.
That's really,
When you help your customers get what they want, you get what you want. The same as with all businesses.
and we're weird in that we give it away for free.
I
And
know.
that's how we make money, right? Like, it's the whole idea of collaborative commerce is one of our foundations of our business. Is we say, you know, we're based on generosity. We give away what we do for free with it's just that karma thing you were talking about at the beginning. We can help people run their campaign. We don't charge a fee to use the campaign. We'll ask the donor for a tip to help keep it free for you as the campaign owner, including on your entrepreneurial campaigns, which is a unique thing in the industry. Or we can charge a fee for it, but we ask the donors to cover the fee for you, which, funny enough, works way better than the tipping model, because it actually can get your cost of fundraising down to around 1 to 1.5%, depending. If you're a charity, you can get it below 1%. It's amazing. And that's
Wow.
including your credit card fees. Your normal credit card fees are 3%.
Yeah, because y'all don't charge any fees. The only fee is the credit card fee. So the more people, but y'all make your money through the tips, but people can also contribute towards covering the credit card fees, right?
Yeah. So people sometimes wonder, does this model really work? Well, I don't know. Since 2009, we're still here. So I think it actually works pretty well. But I wanted to show you some things to maybe give you some idea of the range of what you can do here. This is a monster campaign that's running with us right now. We won this away from Kickstarter. It was the second and third largest campaigns for a show that they'd ever run. And this year they've come to us. This is Mystery Science Theater 3000. And they do a wacky, funny comedy riff on really bad movies with a science fiction theme. And it's really funny. Like, there's some great stuff in there. But this campaign is live. They've been running, 10 days or something now.
Wow. And they brought in about almost $1.5 million. So if somebody's listening and you can't see it, they've brought in about $1.5 million. But this is not their first rodeo.
No, and they know how to market this kind of thing. So I just wanted to show you that, when you think about a traditional crowdfunding campaign, you think of the rewards down the side and things like that. One of the things you get with our platforms, and just scroll way down for somebody who's watching, is you can have more of a shopping, like a Shopify style or Etsy style store of the rewards that you're showing in your campaign. So it's a different presentation. We find this converts a lot better. And you're going to hear about these kind of things from us. We're trying to break the molds. We're trying to say what works best, not what's the way everybody else does it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so that's an example of that. And then
I was looking at that one the other day. That's awesome.
They're they're a long way from their goal, but they've got a lot of marketing activities lined up along the way to make this happen. And that's a really important point for your entrepreneurs, is that at the beginning and at the end, there's a flurry of activity. In the middle is what we call the doldrums. Yeah. And it's just like when you're in a sailboat, the sails are flapping and nothing's happening. It's really important to get out of the doldrums. The way to do that is to blow some hot air.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Get some activity going, fill the sails, and get moving again. And they have stuff all lined up.
And I want to say to the people out there who were like, well, y'all just told us to have a small goal, and these people have made almost $1.5 million and they're only at 30%. Yes, but they have been doing this multiple times before, and they have a big following who knows what they're getting and so forth. Right, Daryl?
They do. And that's it. They've had like 30,000 fans that are following them. So I wanted to show you this to say, look, this idea that we're talking about, the same ideas scale from much smaller projects. And give you an example here of, where was it here? This one. This is a children's picture book. Okay. And they've done a nice job on their campaign.
Yeah.
They raised $5,000. And they've got 4 days left. I think they'll probably get there.
Mhm.
They've done a really good job of telling their story, using color, using what's my vision? Let's encourage children to believe in themselves. That's that heartfelt reason why somebody will go and contribute to a campaign
Mhm.
like this, going, I get these people. I get
Yeah.
what you're trying to do. So I'll help with that.
This one, I was looking at a bunch of campaigns for other books and graphic novels when I was helping set up this one. And one of the ones that I looked at, and I'm sure I probably have the numbers wrong, but their initial goal was something like 3,500, maybe 5,000, but they ended up bringing in like 65,000. And that was a great example. People think if you have a lower goal, people are going to stop giving. No, the more you get, the more excited they get.
Right. So this is a really good example of that. This is a photo book from a publisher called Black Eye Books, but their $5,000 goal for people is kind of tiny to see. They got 267% of their goal,
That's awesome.
and they're not done yet. They can
Yeah.
keep with our platform. They can keep taking in orders once they hit their goal, and that was the amount that they had to get. Anything else like that is gravy. They can keep going. We don't force you to stop it. Why
Yeah.
would we do that? We want you to raise as much money as possible. You can keep selling your books as long as it makes sense economically, and it's the relationship you have with this publisher.
Mhm.
But I want to show one thing here. You notice that this is Black Eye Books up here.
Mhm.
From an entrepreneur's point of view, I think it's a really bad idea for you to be giving all of your brand influence to Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or GoFundMe.
Yeah.
You're making them have connections.
Mm.
Why should you not be branding it your own stuff? So in here, we've got Crowdfundr. They didn't take advantage of that because they were running it as a personal campaign. But
Mm.
if you sign up with us as an organization campaign, not only can you brand it yourself, but you get special pages that show different projects you're running. This is
Mm.
that same book. They do a lot of comic books and other things like that. You can see here all the different projects that they've run. They know how to do it.
Mhm.
And they've got this website for free that does all these things for them.
Yeah, and if people are on there, when you go and you search with keywords and stuff, you can see campaigns that are already finished. So being able to keep those up there makes it can generate interest for their next campaign or for their products now off of their own website. So,
Right. And this functions a lot like their own website at that
mhm,
point.
yeah.
Like somebody says, is Black Eye a really good publisher? I'm just seeing their portraits of Queen West here. What else have they done?
Mhm,
Oh, I didn't know that they did all these really cool comic books as
mm,
well, or horror books or things like that. So it's really important that we want to help your entrepreneur, you as an entrepreneur, establish your brand and your community of supporters. It's
mhm.
not about them being our supporters. It's about them being your supporters.
Right.
If you go to Kickstarter or Indiegogo, they have the kind of the Amazon.com model. They're going to say, they're going to take your project and they're going to try and sell it to their base of customers. Basically, you're separated away from those customers. You don't get to talk to them directly until your campaign has funded, and even
Mm,
then they make it hard.
mm,
With our model, we're much more like a Shopify website where we're trying to give you the tools to help have the communication with your community of backers, so that when you do your next project and your next project and your next project, you've got this group that you can start building on. And
mhm.
remember, we said start with a small goal, because you can start getting that core group of people.
Yeah.
Then you get that core group of customers, and they went, I really loved what you did last time. Let's do some more.
Mhm.
And you can use them to get more and more, um, a broader reach for different products and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I love the detail that y'all have for the transactions and that you can export it into a spreadsheet and all that stuff. It's very valuable.
Well, and stuff that's coming for you in this new year is, for everyone, is the ability for you to see all your customers, all the orders across all your campaigns in one
Cool.
spot. So
Awesome.
it means that you can not have to have, is like, it gives you management tools to manage your community. We're calling the feature community.
Mhm.
um, your ability to manage your community and the communications with them in one spot. And, you know, it works. It's going to be really, really nice.
Nice. Well, and y'all have the communication thing now where where we can schedule an email or whatever to go out to everyone who's given. And I want to say that to people out there, you can have a team, you can have more than yourself, you know, who you can invite people to join your team to help promote it. And each of those people will have their own unique URL, their own unique sharing link. So you can actually track how much each person brings in. And also the sub campaigns are a really cool way that other companies or organizations or people not only can they help raise money, but they can also offer their own rewards, can't they?
You can, depending on how you want to set that up. So if you're a publisher or something like that, I guess one of the big characteristics of our platform is that we support personal level customers, organization level customers like business customers, and what we call enterprise customers level.
Yeah.
And an enterprise has multiple businesses underneath them. So you imagine a book publisher that has all these different studios that work with them, and each of those has their own group of authors, and each author has their own thing. That hierarchy we support really, really well in what we do. Way different than any of the other platforms.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's charged the outrageous price of free for that too.
I know, really. Yeah, I remember when we first met, you told me, you're like, I wasn't going to take part in the race to the bottom. I was just going to go straight to the bottom and give it away for free. So you're not constant.
For entrepreneurs, if you're in a race to zero in your market where the prices are under significant pressure, the best way to win is actually to drive it to zero as fast as you can by finding somebody else to pay for the same thing. So in our case, we didn't get the causes to pay for it. We get the donors to pay for it. There, we chose a different customer. The donor is actually the customer in that. If we give them a good experience of giving to a campaign, they give us money.
Yeah.
The cause is they're all worried about margins and what's it going to be. And it's like, look, let's just make that zero for you. And it'll work out really well. And this works in a lot of other industries too. But, you know, that's kind of the rule. If you're in a race to zero, get there first. And by finding somebody else to pay for your product or service, you can wipe out another competitor, especially a bigger competitor, because they can't respond the same way that a small, nimble startup can do.
That's right. Well, can we talk about stretch goals? Because people
can we talk about storytelling first?
I'm sorry, what?
Can we talk about storytelling first?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to share one more time.
Okay.
See if I can figure this out twice in a row. And okay, please come up.
Yes, here we go. Okay. All right.
So when you're telling a crowdfunding story, and this works incredibly well for personal stuff, healthcare things and things like that, entrepreneurial cause-related stuff. It also works for entrepreneurial stuff if you adopt the right framework on it. But this is how we say to tell the crowdfunding story. And I can give you examples of this along the way, but we try and have some fun with it like this because we want you to remember it. If you imagine that you're going to write 2 statements for each of these areas, maybe 3 at most, you're going to have your overall campaign story have between 16 and 20 sentences in it. And if you do this right, you can tell the entire story of everything you need, except for the prices on your perks or rewards or whatever. You can tell the entire story of what you need with this framework. So the way, you know, you talked a little bit earlier about having a good title. A really important thing in your title is to make it really clear what this thing is all about. So for example, let's help Lisa publish her book. That would be a good title. Because you want that when somebody shares that in social media, it has to stand alone. It doesn't have the campaign page to back it up. And frequently doesn't even have some of the, depending on the platform, it mean, like if you text it to somebody, they won't have any of the information, like even the short summary that you get on Facebook or on Twitter or things like that. So making sure that that title is really kind of clear by that is really important. The other thing that's really important on your campaign page is to have a cover image that kind of tells the story for you. People don't like to read anymore. As much as we wish they would, they don't read.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we make this story outline like this is to keep it really, really succinct so that they will read it. But there's some psychology that goes into this. And if you remember, I did my TED Talk on philanthropy as entertainment, binge watching for good. The idea that when we tell entertaining stories and we talk about the units of impact, how the donor is the hero for what they've done to help you out, or the backer is done for helping you out, they're much more willing to give. So this is structured in the idea of helping them make their decision. The nod is to get them to nod and say, yeah, that's true. So for example, I'm going to give you an example on healthcare because it's just really fresh for me right now. Somebody needs a hip replacement surgery. So the nod here is that in Canada, the healthcare system for hip replacements is falling apart. There's too many people. So the nod is we say, hey, you know, like it or not, in Canada, the healthcare system is falling apart in support of hip replacements. And most people go, yep, okay. That nod, that agreement is really important psychologically. It's important because they're now set up to go, okay, I already agree with this person on something. There's a little bit of tiny trust that's built. Like we think alike on something. The next thing is to talk about the problem. And so the problem is an expression of what's going on. The problem isn't lack of money. The problem is the thing that you're trying to solve. So in this case, we have a patient who needs to get to a surgery. He's going to need to travel to surgery, has living expenses and things like that. That quick description, a couple sentences about that, is a description of the problem. The solution is, fortunately, this person who's suffering from a lot of pain in her hips and inability to get work done because she's foggy from all the pain meds she's on, things like that. Fortunately, the solution is that there's a surgery available to have this fixed for her, and in a way that she can get it much more rapidly than having to wait for the regular system to take care of her. So that's the solution. We're talking about how that solves the problem of the pain and the other things like that. The gap is the distance between the problem and the solution. And so it's where the money comes in. You know, sadly, we don't have the money to go and do this surgery all on our own. We're going to need help from friends and family in order for us to go and do that surgery. So the next thing is discuss the impact of that gift. And the impact in this case is, you know, if we can fund this, this woman is going to be able to be pain-free within 6 weeks and to be able to walk again, and should be able to walk for many, many more years in the rest of her life. She expects to live to be over 100 years old because her grandmother and her mother did. So she wants to have a good, productive period in her life. Helping the donor understand how they can make that impact happen. Even my $100 helps them travel. My $100 helps pay for part of the walker. My $100 pays for, you know, there's different ways to break that up.
It makes it real. It makes it real to them instead of just numbers.
And what we really want the person to do is to see the result mentally. I can see them walking. I can see them doing something. If you're talking about charitable stuff, I can see them, you know, feeding another child from the money I gave. If you're talking about an entrepreneurial thing, I can see you packing another box of something to be shipped, or sending off your designs to the factory in order to be done. Like you want them to visualize it. It's really important. We call that units of impact. And if you're on the websites, the crowdfunding websites, like our hub, you'll see the discussion about how to pick good units of impact. The promise in a lot of these campaigns is about communication between the campaign, the cause, and the backer. So the promise is we promise to keep you up to date on all the things that we're doing with your money. So if you're an entrepreneur saying, we're going to go and we're going to do our book, and if it was helping with your book, Lisa, hey, look, we've got the final drafts done. Hey, we got the cover for the artwork for the cover done. And you could share those things ahead of time. And you're keeping your backers, your donors up to date on what's happening, because they may want to go, this project's really taking shape. I'll give it a little bit more. They'll at least give it some more love. And then the ask or the invitation is really about getting them to ask them for the commitment. Hey, you know, I need your help for moving forward. Would you please give to this campaign and or share it with others who you think would be interested, so we can hit our funding goal and publish this book or help this woman get her her hip replacement surgery. The rest is a catch-all, because a lot of times you're going, I need to give them a whole lot more detail about this stuff. So that's where you can get into the longer story. If you need more information, let me tell you about the background of all this.
Okay.
And you can go into that. But it's really important to do the first 7 steps to get to that ask, because you want them to click away at that ask and hit the contribute button and go.
Yeah.
You don't want them to read the rest. If they're reading the rest, they're distracted and you'll lose them.
Great point. We need to rewrite. We need to rewrite ours.
But and so this is like the kind of what we're learning is the number of times this really, really works. We had some campaigns that were kind of a little bit entrepreneurial nature. They set out with a $5,000 goal. They published the campaign the first day following this story format. They blew through $6,500 and they're going, oh, now what do we do?
Wow.
Up your goal.
That's awesome. Did they have a big following?
They didn't. They had a very small following. But the story was so compelling, and their unit of impact was in how they're helping solve a mental health problem for children.
Oh, yeah.
And in that case, it was so compelling that everybody went, got it, like, sign me up. How many of these can I help with? And they had people, and that was really important. The unit of impacts were small. They were $35, $65, and $100. So that's the price of each unit. People were signing up and buying like 5 100s. Because
so when you're saying unit of impact, basically they're saying if you buy one of these $50 things, this is what it can do for us. Okay.
Yeah, in that case, on a charitable one. And with your book stuff, I mean, it might be a bundle. It might be, hey, buy one, get one kind of idea where we're going to invest in one now and we're going to use some of the funding to write the next one. And, like there's different ways you can communicate the unit.
We also have a couple of one-off things like where somebody for a larger amount can pick characters for a one-of-a-kind cover that the comic studio will create the cover of the 3 people that they want. We have some things like that.
So that's fabulous. And you tied into something that we haven't covered here, which is exclusivity is your friend in crowdfunding.
Yeah.
When you have things that other people can't have, you imagine that you could have a Taylor Swift concert tickets where, Taylor would come and sing happy birthday to you. You'd probably sell that for $1 million.
Yeah.
And that's extreme case. But the point being is that if I can have the only version of this book with the cover with my 3 friends as caricatures and cartoon figures on the cover of this book, yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's in the world. We're inundated in the common stuff.
Yeah.
That makes it special.
Yeah. And it lasts forever if it's in a book. One of the other ones we have, and this is for a lot more, is to actually have a character in the book. Create like you be in the book. So that's pretty cool.
We had a group fund a movie called Home Again. And it was about returning after wildfires in northern Alberta that wiped out.
Wow.
And one of the perks was to write yourself into the movie as a character.
Yeah.
And we had some pretty significant actors write themselves into the movie.
Oh, awesome. That's cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
And they even did the voiceover for their character in the movie.
Oh, nice. Well, that gives us some ideas because we're going to be doing an animation thing later. So I have to come back to those ideas. So let's talk about stretch goals, unless you had something else that you want to talk about to lead up to that.
No, and we were going to have this be completely randomized, and I think we're almost structured here. We've got to be careful. Confuse people to think we know what we're talking about. We've only done 200,000 campaigns that have raised $325 million. So sometime soon, we're probably going to get good at it.
Oh, golly, that's amazing.
And remember, that's the little team of under 20 people.
I know, that's so crazy, Daryl. But before we get to stretch goals, I want you to share the story of the people back when y'all were first starting out, early on, when you were trying to figure out like what it is you're doing, even though you were already raising money, and the parents of the little girl.
Oh, yeah. So for everybody, when we launched, I originally launched FundRazr to do fee collection using social media and some fundraising. The key thing I was trying to get money for my son's lacrosse team. And I was trying to scratch my own itch. I'm building a software platform to scratch my own itch so I could raise money for this team. And as a result, we were kind of focused on fees and sport teams and things like that.
Yeah.
And PayPal came to us and they said, we want to help you write the next version of FundRazr. And so what we want to focus a little bit more on personal issues, and we'll help you develop it. We'll help you bring customers to it, and we'll you get to keep the product. Like we just, as long as you're using our APIs and we make some money on the payments, we're good. Cool. Like what a great partnership.
Yeah.
And there's a really important lesson in there is that if you want to work with a big company, solve the business problem of a person in the company.
Yeah.
Not the company. Solve a business problem for a person in the company. This person needed to get volume up around personal payments. So she needed to get this product built.
Mm-hmm.
We helped build the product for her. And all of a sudden we got this big partner who's working with us to launch this thing. But the problem is when we launched it, we didn't understand the customer base very well.
Yeah.
And so as the campaigns were first starting, we were printing them out and posting them all around the walls in our boardroom, trying to figure out what the common pattern was, because they were all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody getting a broken leg, somebody was saving their cat, somebody's house burned down, somebody was trying to go back to school, somebody was trying to sell a product. Like it was all over the map.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really understand what we were doing. And that was in July. And by Christmas time, we got a Christmas card from a customer in Hawaii. And the customer had said that she and her husband were living off the grid in kind of the valleys in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have health insurance. And their daughter got leukemia. Now, childhood leukemia is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you have literally days in order to get going once you discover it, or it'll kill you. So they very quickly ran a campaign on FundRazr, asked for friends and family help to buy the plane ticket because they'd arranged with the military hospital in San Diego to take their daughter because he was ex-military.
Mm-hmm.
And but they didn't have insurance, so they were gonna take her. But they had to get her there on their own dime. So they quickly raised, I think it was $3,500, and they got on the plane and they got there in days, 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
They got there and the doctor said if you hadn't got her here today or tomorrow, she would have died.
God.
So they sent us a thank you message saying, thank you for helping save my daughter's life.
That's just,
and
I love that story.
From that was it's not about the raising the money thing. It's got to look behind all these things. It's not the business of running the campaign. Is that we were helping somebody in an emotionally challenging, frightening time raise money for something that was really, really important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that their friends and family would participate in that in a heartbeat. And that's what we learned about that. We finally had a reason. We're helping people solve the most critical funding problems in their life.
Uh-huh.
Up until that point, I was looking at collecting fees for a lacrosse team, not the most critical problem in life.
Yeah.
And that epiphany changed the way we looked at what we did.
Yeah.
And frankly, it wasn't work anymore.
I just love that story. And every time you tell it or I think of it, it just makes me teary-eyed because
I got through it without crying this time.
Well, I'm trying to, Daryl.
I saw you start to tear up. Oh, here we go.
Yep. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that is the lovely thing. And if I encourage, one of the things we are as ConnectionPoint is what we call a B corporation. And a B corporation prioritizes all stakeholders in what we do, not just the investors.
Uh-huh.
So that means we need to take care of our customers. We need to take care of the environment. We need to take care of our staff, our suppliers. We need to have good relationships with all of these groups and have a stake in what we do. It may seem, completely snowflakey, but it actually is really, really good business, because the end result is that it's way easier for us to hire people, way easier for us to get customers, because they can start to trust what we're doing.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you need to have a kind of I think it works best if you have a mission-driven company.
Yeah.
where you're fully understanding the impact of what you're doing. That's more than just making money,
Mm-hmm.
because our pursuit of all this incredible profit is killing our planet.
Yeah.
We're hurting each other. And we
Killing our health, killing our planet. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I talk about in the book. And you're in that part, having a higher purpose. And I work with a lot of my clients too with that, because I'll have clients that may be very, very successful, but you get to the point, money's great, but you get to the point, okay, great, you're just putting on some more dollar signs, and people start feeling like there's got to be more to life than this. So to me, it's so much fun to help people figure out a way that they can blend a higher purpose in with their business in some way. I love it, but it's just an intrinsic part of your business.
Well, we're lucky that way, and as a result, it doesn't feel like work a lot of the time. But a kind of a key thing, I coach and mentor a lot of entrepreneurs, as you know, and one of the key things that we see as a defining moment in when the entrepreneur switches from being an inventor or self-centered into being a real entrepreneur is when they start talking about their customers more than they talk about their product.
Yeah.
See, if I'm talking about how my product is helping that customer, and I say, they were really struggling with this, and so we did this to try and make it work for them, that conversation shift is huge, because otherwise you're trying to fit the customer into the vision of the product that you have. When you start thinking about the customer and fitting your product into the vision of what the customer needs, that's when you become, I think, a much more successful entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yep. And happier, in my opinion.
And you're for the people behind it. Like, you're trying to solve a problem for them. That's when the heart comes out in the work. And that's when they're going, I get you, because you really want to help me, not you just want to do a cashectomy on me.
And when you're talking about, having great relationship with your employees and your suppliers and everything, you're building that loyalty. Everybody is in it together, whether it's the suppliers, the employees, the customers, everybody ends up having a common goal, and you feel, well, you have a purpose. You feel like it makes a difference, and that really does make a difference in whether you want to get up in the morning.
It's certainly way more rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, now what do you want to talk about? I got us off track.
Probably going to have to head to dinner here in a minute. I'm a new granddad, and the little boy is going to come up and need to be fed shortly. So.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, really quickly before we go, because I've been saying the word the whole time, stretch goals. Explain to them what stretch goals are. Yeah.
So a really key thing is that when you're setting your minimum viable goal along the way, that's just to make sure that you can get something happening with your market where you can transfer and deliver value to them. When you're setting a stretch goal, now it's the aspirational things about what could you do for your customers to help give them more value on that they might pay more money for. So there's kind of two ways to look at stretch goals. One is for things that would bring in people who have already purchased that enhance their experience. And so what would a stretch goal be to give them something? So we need another $5,000, and we'll end up with different things that we could give as stretch goals. The other way to look at it is that in the period of stretch goals, you might have something new that would attract new donors in, or new backers into the project. And, in most of the time, the platforms will only do the all or nothing component up to the main part of your campaign. The stretch goals are all optional. So you have to make sure that you can get partway there and keep people happy. Because if you're giving them a new perk, for example, that would only happen if you hit the stretch goal and you sell them that and you don't make it, you're going to have to refund it.
Yeah.
So it's really important to set your stretch goals based on things that ideally are not an all or nothing type thing. If you want to do an all or nothing type thing, one of the ways to do it is, as you mentioned earlier, is to use our micro projects architecture. And with micro projects, you do individual projects for each phase, each stretch goal component, and each one of those can be all or nothing. So then you can have first phase, hit it all, great, we did it. They go to the second phase, And if you hit it, then you've got those two covered. And all of those funds roll up into one campaign. So it's easier for you to administer. It's a little bit more complicated, but I want people to know you can do it. It's just, you have to be, hey, look, this is masterclass stuff in crowdfunding. If you want to do that, come to us. We're good at it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Well, Daryl, tell everybody how they can connect with you and give them the website address and everything so that they can find out more about the ConnectionPoint family.
Sure. So if you go to, well, let's maybe pull that screen up and we'll just cheat. and because visuals, this is a key thing. Nobody reads very well anymore, right? So
yeah.
Layout. I'm doing this is cheating, but share screen.
While you're doing that, I'm going to get the link to put in for our crowdfunder to put in the comments.
So if you want to find the main website, ConnectionPoint.com, and it has links to all of our other brands. But the brands, just for everybody, crowdfunder.com, FundRazr.com, CoCoPay.co, C-O, not .com, and Petfundr, look at that, there's an E missing, .com. Those are the ways that they can reach us. From there, they can get to those hubs.
But they can go to ConnectionPoint.com and get to all of it, right?
They can go to ConnectionPoint.com and get to all of it.
Okay.
And so that's the easiest way to do it. If we just show
wait, hold on. We don't have that up there. Oh, was I supposed to be sharing it?
That's okay. There. Well,
okay.
So there's ConnectionPoint.com. And it's just kind of a little bit of a site to give you an idea what all the brands are about.
Yeah.
As you can see, and then there's links to all of them.
But if you don't want to have to remember all those, go to ConnectionPoint.com and you can get to any of them.
Right. And so let's just make this really nice and big so everybody can see it. How can you tell I spend my life in presentations? I'm doing whiteboard stuff on PowerPoint. There's that. And then, if you want to connect with me, there's a couple of different ways. DarylHatton.com is my speaker site. And if you want to hear more of my weird philosophy in life, growingpains.ca. And this is where, I talk about some of the trials and tribulations of being an entrepreneur or being a dad or being a coach or whatever. And, it's just a great way to hear if you want to see more weird thinking of an entrepreneur, because I talk a lot about entrepreneur type topics and some of the challenges that come with that. It's not got a ton of content, so you don't have to get buried in it, but those are ways. And then if you look for Daryl Hatton on LinkedIn, that's a great way if anybody wants to connect with me.
Yeah.
On most social, I'm Daryl Hatton. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Daryl, I really appreciate
my name somewhere in England that he can't get any visibility or love on social media. Sorry.
Wait,
dude.
what? I'm sorry. What'd you say?
There's somebody with my name, exact same spelling.
Oh.
The poor guy, because you'll never I'm the first 20 pages of search results or whatever for all this kind of stuff. So if he ever wants to be found, he can hide pretty well behind me.
That's funny. Yeah. As long as he doesn't do something bad and then start moving up the search ranking.
Well, there's a golfer that is moving up the search ranking. He's messing with me, but anyway.
Oh, funny. That's his name too?
No, it's another. There was a boxer and there was a golfer, and they occasionally show up when they're hot and then they go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
The winning the search game for an individual, right?
Yeah. Daryl, I appreciate you so much. Thanks so much for giving us so much time. And of course, you and I haven't talked for a couple of years. So I just love being able to talk with you again and catch up.
Well, I love the fact that when we can just drop into where we left off and away we go. So that's
exactly.
And I love what you're doing. You're so generous with helping people make it work for them. So that's a really important part of my world, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Daryl. You know that I love you and appreciate you. So
right back at you.
I'll talk with you soon, and I will see everybody else next week. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.